Welcome, everyone, and I'm here to discuss with you about excellence today. So, we will talk about excellence. Before I talk about excellence, there is a story which I'm sharing before you. This story, a professor told the students that he would give average marks to the students. The first test happened. Some students scored high, some students scored low. Average marks were awarded to everyone. But in final test, no one worked hard. Everyone got a zero because average marks were awarded to everybody. Now my question to you is, what is the lesson that you're able to draw from this story? Uh, I hope you are able to read this story, Law of Average. Yes. What is the lesson that you are able to draw from this story? Yes, I have four brilliant professors standing before me, uh, and I would request all of you to give me your opinion on this story. Yes, what is the lesson out of this story? Yes, any one of you, what is the main theme that you are able to draw from this story? Yes, any inputs from your side? This story is very important, and entrepreneurship is based on this story. And so I always share this story with my students. So I would like to listen from you. What is your perspective about this story? Yes, anybody, any suggestions that you have, any uh, observation that you have, any answer? Yes, Sarah, any answer from you? Yes, Professor Daniel, any suggestions from you? What is the moral of this story? The background that you have, Dr. Daniel, is really beautiful. Very beautiful background that you have. I mean, such a wonderful heaven that you are in. I mean, this is real heaven. Very beautiful lake, very beautiful trees. Ah, that's life, real life. You are in real heaven. Yes, any input about it? Any inputs or any suggestions? Yes. Yeah, yeah. And yes, you're welcome to speak. You can unmute yourself and speak. You're free to speak. You can unmute yourself and speak. I have put you on the main screen now. Whatever you will speak will be listened by every one of us, so you can speak. Mr. Professor Daniel, whatever views you have, do share. Yes. Welcome, Professor Daniel. Yes.
Am I
Yeah.
audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, I can say that the lesson which is learned from that story
Yes.
basically is lack of integrity from the teacher or the lecturer who was teaching the students.
Yes, yes.
There was lack of integrity because the expectations were that at least every student will pass.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they got zero.
Yes.
So it was beyond their expectations.
Beyond their expectation.
Yeah,
Right.
so the major theme there is the integrity, lack of integrity.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Daniel. Thank you.
Well, welcome,
Welcome.
welcome.
Welcome. Welcome. Yes. Sarah, would you like to contribute something on this story? Law of averages that I've shared. Any inputs from your side? Yes, Sarah? Any input from your side? Okay, let me share the story. And what is the story? The story is a professor told the students that he would give average marks to all the students. Average means one student got 8, one student got 2, so he will make an average. So average is 5. 5 will be given to both the students. So this he announcement he made. The result The result of this announcement was that when first test took place, some people scored very high. Obviously, they worked hard. Some people scored very less because obviously they didn't work very hard. But all of them got average marks. So because all of them got the same marks, average, so these people, those people who worked hard got disappointed. Why should we work hard? We are going to get average marks. Those people who did not work hard and still got very high marks, they were happy. They said no need to work hard. And ultimately in final test, no one worked hard because this is human psychology. When we think we are not going to get anything, even if you work hard, then why should we work hard? So it is about human psychology, and it is about socialism or communism. Because in socialism or communism, what happens? Everybody is given average. And if you work very hard, it doesn't create any impact for you. If you don't work hard, no problem. Government will subsidize and give you something. And therefore, this principle of human psychology is applying to socialism. On the other hand, in countries which are giving uh, market It's due freedom. Market driven economy are like United States or uh, UK or other countries, developed countries, where if you are brilliant, if you are outstanding, you can rise and make tremendous progress. And if you are not able to do something, your income will be naturally low. So this story explains the fundamental of socialism versus entrepreneurship. What do we want? Do we want this kind of equality oriented system where nobody has any incentive to work hard and become entrepreneur? Or do we want to encourage people to take risk, become entrepreneurs, and lead the world? If economies adopt socialism, entrepreneurship cannot thrive. If economies adopt communism, or if governments are freely distributing resources, entrepreneurship cannot thrive. Entrepreneurship can thrive only if we are enabling people to take risk, grow the businesses, and reap the rewards. So there is a paradigm shift. The law of averages will not work. You have to change the fundamental thinking, fundamental assumptions. So, what should we do? I come back to the PPT. Money grows on tree. Does it really happen? Beggars in Mumbai and Tirths are holy places in India, they earn 3,000 rupees per day or more than that, but they are not able to become entrepreneurs. Thieves earn huge money, huge amount, but at the end they become penniless. Some employees get very high salaries, but they cannot become entrepreneurs. But those people who opt for entrepreneurship, yes, they become, they really earn a lot. There is no doubt. So the fundamental question is money growing on trees? Is money growing on entrepreneurship? How is entrepreneurship wealth creator? I will request all of you to ponder on this issue. In our next session, I will have a special discussion with you to explain why entrepreneurship is able to create wealth. Why entrepreneurship is so important in wealth creation. I will discuss this point thoroughly with you, and that will help us in understanding the power of entrepreneurship, how entrepreneurship can contribute to wealth creation. So, we will talk about this. Entrepreneurship can thrive if students understand business fundamentals. Students may be doing engineering, students may be doing BSc, BTech, or diploma or polytechnic diploma, or they might be doing learning some vocational course, but they must understand these fundamentals, business fundamental. What are the business fundamentals? Entrepreneurship thrives in liquidity. Business grows in liquidity. Liquidity is fundamental. Even if your business is in losses, no problem. Liquidity must remain. If liquidity is there, business will ultimately earn profit. But if liquidity is missing, business will not be able to grow even if you are earning profit. And diversion of fund is the main reason behind business failures. You put the business in working capital, business will continue. You invest the money in unnecessary infrastructure, in purchase of building, in purchase of land, in purchase of machines which are not really required. Your money gets tied down, liquidity gets squeezed, and business fail. So business failure happens because of lack of liquidity or for diversion of funds. What is profit? Very simple. Excess of revenues over expenditure is profit. Take care of inflation and interest burden, because you do not know, in business or in any other time, you may forget inflation and interest, and ultimately you end up losing your business. Your business may close down just because you ignored these points. Save and invest your money very carefully. Lack of money is the root cause of all evils in business. In business, if you don't have money, or if you don't have cash, or if you don't have liquidity, there is no freedom, no future for you, no friend for you. Only friends if you have liquidity in business. Now let me explain these business fundamentals. These business fundamentals must be understood by us as teachers, and must be understood by our students who are going to learn these points. If we don't explain these points, we are not good teachers. That should be very clear. So one of the most fundamental duty that we have as teacher is to explain these points to the students. What are these points? Liquidity. Most important thing is liquidity in business. You run a business, you start selling in credit. You start selling on credit. You have huge volume, huge profit. On paper, you say, my profit is growing like anything. But I will predict that your business will close down in 6 months, because you didn't notice you are selling on credit. You're buying on cash, selling on credit, and ultimately there is no liquidity. And if there is no liquidity, the business will close down. Another reason is diversion. If you have started a trading enterprise, where is the need to invest money in land and building? Where is the need to buy buildings? Many entrepreneurs I have seen divert the funds. Instead of keeping the funds in working capital, they divert the funds in unnecessary things. And what happens? Their business close down. Sickness. Let us understand these fundamentals and explain these fundamentals to every student, every startup, so that they don't commit these kinds of mistakes. If they have set up a trading center, suggest them to take buildings, shops, infrastructure on rent, on lease, and avoid making huge investments in these things, because this is diversion of funds. If you have established an, an online store, you don't require to buy land, building, infrastructure, and all these things. If you require any storage place, take it on rent, take it on lease. Why do you divert the money in these? These are guaranteeing your business failures. That is for sure. Your business will fail if you don't follow the right path. And these points must be explained by we teachers to the students. We have to drive these points to the students. Take care of these points. Another very important point. I am from India. In India, the inflation rate is only 4%, which is not very high. But suppose, I'm just assuming that the inflation rate is 20% or 30% or 40%, then I need to be very careful. I need to be very careful in business decisions. If I take loan from a foreign bank, I have to pay interest. I have to pay interest, I have to pay in dollars. My country's currency will become unreliable, and my business will become bankrupt. Why? I will become bankrupt. Why? Because inflation is 40%. I have to pay in dollars. Dollar will become costlier. And my projections about my income will go haywire. Everything will be unpredictable. Instead of paying 1 lakh rupees, I'll be paying 20 lakh rupees, because the dollar's price will shoot up, my cost will shoot up, and ultimately I will become bankrupt. So keeping an eye on economy, keeping an eye on inflation, keeping an eye on interest burden is very important. Entrepreneurs must pay attention to these. And another important point is entrepreneurs must always save and invest substantial money so that they can protect themselves. As teachers of entrepreneurship, we have to drive these points in their mind through simulations, through business games, through small interactions, through discussions. I am having this discussion with you. This primary aim of this discussion is to drive these points. Because as teachers, we have to drive these points. That is very important. The story of law of averages will drive in their mind conceptual clarity what is entrepreneurship and what are market forces. These are very important. Sometimes entrepreneurs earn because of rise in price. I am dealing in commodity, for example, and I buy wheat. Now, right, wheat is right, suppose selling at the rate of $100 per bag, and I stock these. After 2 months, the price of wheat increases, and now it is selling at $150 per bag. I am earning enough profits. I sell it out and become king. But remember, this price rise is because of inflation. Entrepreneurs can create a habit in their mind. Why not do this task? Buy stock, sell, earn profit. This can be disastrous. Sometimes you can earn because of inflation. Sometimes it can be disastrous. And just doing stocking and selling is not going to contribute to economy's development also. So take care. Tell your students, tell your entrepreneurs not to get swayed by this kind of situations. You may earn smart profit by such kind of things, but don't make it habit. It is one time exceptional thing, fine. Your real profit should come by your value addition. If you're a true entrepreneur, add values, add value to the business, add value in such a way that customers are willing to pay you higher for your extra services, for your extra capabilities, for your innovations. So, as entrepreneur teachers, we have to drive this point because otherwise there will be problem. What is MSME or SMEE? SMEME. SMME is small, medium micro entrepreneurs, micro enterprises. Initially, our students will be setting up micro enterprises, very small. They will be setting up proprietorship. They will be setting up partnership. They will be setting up private limited companies. Later on, they will be able to expand it into bigger companies. And these SMMEs, grow very fast. They have wonderful success stories. They're making wonderful contribution. Their contribution has been appreciated by World Bank and other organization. Every government has support system for these SMMEs. So you get financial support. Your student will set up micro enterprises, but we teach them how to set up large company. If you teach them how to set up a large company and they set up micro enterprise, how will it work? Teach them how to set up a micro enterprise so that they can grow their businesses. So first step is micro enterprise, then small, then medium, then large. What we teach as professors is all about large companies. You teach them subject called management information system, business strategy and policy. Well, these things you teach them from a large company perspective and the student get confused. Well, a micro enterprise doesn't need to create an MIS system. A micro enterprise doesn't need to create a strategic framework just like a large company. So don't teach them these things. Rather than them, teach them about micro enterprises. Make them proud of running a micro enterprise. Tell them basic steps in running micro enterprise, how to start a micro enterprise, how to start a tiny enterprise. Rather than asking them to prepare a business plan of $1 billion, ask them that you have just $100. Prepare a business plan with just $100. Start a business with just $100 and prepare a business plan which involves very little amount of money. These steps will help you in channelizing these strategies properly. Yes, how do small entrepreneurs grow? They grow through sustainability of their business. Their business will grow on basis of an ecosystem where sustainability of small enterprises is possible. What they require? They require access to credit, access to liquidity. Credit means liquidity here. They require money to run the business, working capital. And you should train them in how to run working capital, how to get credit, how to run business enterprise. They require access to market. What should you do for that? The answer is take them to business exhibitions, trade shows, take them to various business development meetings, and enable them to get consultancies or support from your support network, which I will discuss later, business development support system. You create an entrepreneurship cell to provide fundamental guidance, basic guidance, free of cost. Entrepreneurship cells have to work free of cost. Of course, incubation centers will require greater amount of money, and for that they will have to create some system because their huge investments are involved. Because you are also providing funds, you are also providing infrastructure support and mentoring services. But in entrepreneurship cell, your basic purpose is to create awareness and ecosystem, an environment for entrepreneurship, right? So these things, for that you create necessary infrastructure. You provide a small cabins to your students so that they can start their offices, and they can feel a simulated business environment. They can feel an economic environment. You create a network, a tie up with the support service providers. You invite investors, organize investors meet. You invite funding agencies, organize meetings with them. If students are going for social entrepreneurship, you also invite government departments and other bodies which are there to provide financial support for social development activities. So these are the basic infrastructure that we have to create. You as faculty have to create this kind of setup. So this is my humble request to all of you. You are going to be professors, but here most important thing is you have to create an ecosystem for entrepreneurs. The ecosystem within your university, within your educational setup, will help the students in becoming entrepreneurs. So for that, you have to create laboratories for innovations. You have to create an environment for innovation, ideation. guide the students about IPR, help the students in registering their patents, and help the students in creating the prototypes and testing the prototypes. So, this is how you have to create an ecosystem. So, creation of an ecosystem for innovation and entrepreneurship is the most important task, and help your students in surviving and in growing tough challenges. So, coming back to basic question, institutional environment. Can you create the right institutional environment? Yes. What should it be? What should you do? You should create an e-cell, entrepreneurship cell. You should create an incubation center. You should create single window clearances. Similar steps have to help. Uh, you have to give due credit framework for your students. If students take up entrepreneurship, give them extra credit. The societies that create an institutional environment will be able to become entrepreneurial. If you create institutional environment, you will become your university will become entrepreneurial university. Students will become entrepreneurs. And if your country adopts it, the country will become entrepreneurial. Oh, thank you, Professor Kadian. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you, Professor Kadian, for joining. Uh, I welcome all the participants. Thank you, all the participants. You, in spite of your very busy schedule, you people are participating.
Thank you.
You are able to
Thank you
spare
so
your
much.
time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much from my core of
Yeah,
heart.
I've been following. I've been following for quite some time, but I remembered. I think I had not registered.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, every country need people like you so that institutional environment is created, and the small entrepreneurs contribute substantially. They create large number of jobs, large number of business business development take place. And if you contribute towards entrepreneurship, you contribute to the nation building, you contribute to economic development, unemployment reduction, and you help in creating a better future, right? uh, this I mean, every government should create right institutional infrastructure, but the speed is slow, and because obviously bureaucracy doesn't want to give away easily. This is what I find in my country. I hope in other country also the same thing happens. Consultancies and business development services, they help you a great deal. If you really want to create a lot of startups, you must provide enough consultancies and business development services. They help you substantially. I've shared this PPT to you all on your email ID. You can go through it. Consultancies. What kind of consultancies? If a group of students want to set up a business, they require guidance. How to set up a company? What is the investment in setting up a company? How to do marketing? How to do online marketing? How to establish proper website? So some consultancy offices have to be there in your university, in your educational institution, where experts come once in a month. They announce the day that on this day we will be available to provide guidance. Interested students, interested startups can talk to them, get their guidance, and initial guidance should be free. Once the business is well established, there may be paid services for them. But for the students, for the startups who are yet to start, well, you provide free guidance. The purpose of the free guidance is that more and more people are able to start their startups, right? That is the most important objective, right? So provide consultancy services, provide business development services. And once the startup is running, it is able to sell out its goods, it is able to generate revenues, it has to pay to the consultancy services, to the business development services. And through these payments, the incubation center will become self-sustaining, right? So incubators and accelerators will be able to become self-sustaining by charging from the startups which are able to generate revenues, right? Uh, Entrepreneurship cell primarily caters to freshers, students who have not yet started their enterprises, who are just thinking about it. Therefore, they should offer consultancies and business development services free of cost so that students start thinking in these directions. Because at this stage, they need basic guidance, basic consultancy services. And later on, as they establish their startups, as they are able to grow, they may require very comprehensive, detailed consultancies, which may involve market surveys, which may involve international uh, touring. And then obviously the startups will have to pay, and from them, these centers will be running. Okay. So this will help. I come back to the fundamental point that we were discussing. Entrepreneurship gives a big boost to the economy. Entrepreneurship gives big boost to economy. Every ecosystem which gives support to entrepreneurship helps in national development. So survival of the startups and supporting the startup is very important. So how do you encourage entrepreneurship? Success of the economy is dependent on the rate of creation of new businesses and their survival rate. Their survival rate is globally very low. If you give training to 100 students in entrepreneurship, 3 or 4 out of them will establish some startup. So then business will start. If 100 startups have started, then probably 9 or 10 out of them are going to survive first 5 years. And then that means the survival rate is also very low, right? And you have to keep on, because after all, it is a market driven system. The students require your inputs for creating the right mindset in the beginning. Once they have established their business enterprise, the business enterprise has become self sustaining, then they will develop themselves automatically. They will become learning individuals. They will adapt themselves. But in the beginning, we have to train them so that they are able to make their first enterprise successful, which is obviously a difficult task because mindset, change of mindset is there, right? So that is there. Markets access. The most fundamental thing in entrepreneurship is marketing. You have a business idea, but you cannot succeed unless there is acceptance in the market. So, how do you provide a market access to your startups? Give them information about market, take them to trade fairs, take them to exhibitions, or give them information about these so that and encourage them to participate in them. Maybe they will have to contact 100 people before they get their first customer. It is possible. But this is part of learning. They will learn it. Participation in trade fair, participation in exhibitions, participation in various online online fairs, all these things will help. And this is also obviously part of business development support that you people have to provide to your startups. If your students have developed a new product, the success of that product, the initial success of that product should also be your responsibility. So you have to help. Of course, ultimately, it's the responsibility of the innovators, the entrepreneurs, but you have to support initially so that the person gets confidence, get information, feedback from the customer, and is able to make it viable. So for that, all these things will help you. Business requires infrastructure, various types of infrastructure. You need not provide all this infrastructure. Infrastructure like storage, warehousing, you cannot provide, but you can help your startups. You can help them, guide them. They can take it on rent or lease, transportation systems, delivery system, business incubators. Business incubators, yes, you have to create in your university so that the I mean, if in the beginning, if you don't have, no problem, but later on you should have. In the beginning, you can uh, forward your student to existing business incubators so that they can guide their regular mentoring. Then telecommunication systems. Well, basic telecommunication systems you have to provide. For example, video conferencing, a conference room, and small cubicles for meetings, small cubicles for, creating a simulated office environment. All these things you have to create in your university. You have to provide this infrastructure. Then computers, yes, you have to provide computers to these students so that they can start working on them as per the requirement. Minimum computers, I'm saying. But obviously, if a startup is running and the startup requires 50 computers, they will have to make financial arrangement for that. Then some basic secretarial services, yes, in your incubation center or in entrepreneurship cell, you have to provide so that these startups are able to establish. A very important task in promoting entrepreneurship is the policy advocacy. You have to work on this direction also. I share about my role, what I do. I write a lot of articles and I try to share those articles in social media as well as I try to send those articles to policymakers. I tweet and share with the important people who can take decisions. I do not know whether my articles, my writings really influence or not, but I do find that my views get accommodated somewhere in the by the policymakers. I do not know to what extent, but then it works. For example, uh, for promoting startups, for promoting entrepreneurship, I have been writing constantly and writing newspapers and sharing those newspapers clippings with policymakers. I do not know whether policymakers really read them or not, but I do find that my views are implemented by the policymakers. So these you also all of you should do. Right policies will help in creating the right ecosystem for entrepreneurship. You should write, publish, get them published in popular newspapers. Uh, in 1 year, I write at least 50 articles in vernacular language and share them with policymakers. This is my work, and I expect the same thing from you. Each one of you should write at least 50 articles in vernacular language, your own language, and share it with policymakers. Request them that they, whatever policy they adopt, no problem, but at least they should read what you are writing. So you will become the voice of the entrepreneurs. You have to become the voice of the entrepreneurs. You have to use the pen, and pen is mightier than sword. It is very powerful. Use this. There is no need of any dharna. There is no need of any protest. There is no need of any agitation. There is no need of any dissatisfaction. Whatever thoughts you have, use the pen. In modern terms, use the keyboard. Type on the keyboard and share the thoughts, right? If you will not write, who will write? Entrepreneurs are not very expressive. They cannot write. And they are not vote banks. Nobody is going to pay attention to them. Ultimately, the biggest disadvantage of democracy is that the decision makers pay attention to vote banks. If you are a vote bank, I mean, you are important person for the election, re-election, well, your points are noted. And small entrepreneur is no way where vote bank. And in democracies, they are ignored. Policymakers ignore them. If you will not write for them, who will write? You have to raise their points. You have to talk for them. You have to support them. This is a very important role of you as teachers, as faculty members, and as supporters for entrepreneurship. I do not know whether you would agree to me or not, but I have shared with you what I am doing. I have shared with you what is my perspective on this. And I am sure you would at least listen to me. Yes, we have to create an excellent support system for our students so that they can become entrepreneur. For that, we have to provide motivation to them. We have to provide guidance to them. We have to provide consultancies to them. We have to provide mentoring to them. We have to help them, handle them, enable them, support them by input supplies. Various inputs. Inputs include manpower. How do you provide this input? Provide voluntary services. Allow your students to work with the startups and give them credit, 1 credit or 2 credit. For example, you are running a graduation program. Every semester, 20 credits are there. Out of those 20 credits, you give the permission to the students that up to 4 credits you can earn by working with some startup for up to 2 hours per day. This kind of policy can easily be framed. Through this policy, you can encourage your students to work as volunteers for startups. And startups will get inputs of manpower, inputs of suppliers. You connect them with suppliers. If your university has good connection with suppliers, you give a guarantee to the supplier that look, we give guarantee for payment for my students. You provide them the material they require, and if they don't pay, we are there to give a guarantee. This kind of support will be required. You give the supplier an assurance that please provide them goods on credit. If they fail, we will provide you. This kind of assurance is necessary. So link your startups with input suppliers so that your students are able to buy on credit. If they buy on credit, sell on cash, they will be able to grow their business like anything. But what is happening right now? Because you don't give them support, what happens? The startups buy on cash, sell on credit, ultimately they become bankrupt. You can write it down. Even if they are earning huge profits, you can write down they will become bankrupt. Most of the startups fail because of these reasons. Understand these. We, as faculty members, have an important role in creating the right ecosystem, and we have to make it happen. How we'll have to have? We have to provide input supplies, support them. We have to provide them connection with the suppliers. We have to facilitate establishment of bulk buying groups. Bulk buying groups are very useful. If in your university 10 new startups have started, out of 10 5 are buying common raw material, create a bulk buying group, connect them with other buyers, other local buyers. If they will buy in bulk, they will be able to bring down their cost, input costs. If they bring down their input cost, their profitability will improve. They will be able to survive. If they are able to survive first 10 years, they will shoot up. They will grow like anything. Just first 5 years, even then they will be able to grow like anything. So for first 5 years, you be their friend, well-wisher, supporter. Okay. Then training and technical assistance. This is very important. We are trainers by nature. I am a teacher. You are also a teacher. We are basically trainers. But here, the training that we have to give involves money, involves possibility of becoming a bankrupt versus possibility of becoming a billionaire. So here we have to train our students, train the students how to prepare feasibility study, how to prepare a business plan. We have to give them training in management, communication, leadership, employee development, business plan formulation, marketing, digital business. We have to provide them mentoring, counseling, advisory services. We have to provide legal services to them. What kind of legal services? Like formation of a company. For formation of a company, preparation of memorandum association, preparation of articles of association, vetting of the company. These are basics legal services. We have to provide them. We have to give them guidance about tax, about TDS system, tax deducted at source, financial reporting systems, franchising system, subcontracting system, outsourcing system, technical and vocational training. Yes, at fundamental level, we have to provide them all these things. If they require very expertise and detailed services, probably we have to connect them with some external expert and help them in getting the right services at minimum cost. Right? Choosing a delivery services. Choosing a delivery service is a very important point. Traditionally, there are two approaches to delivery of services. One is called traditional development approach, and one is called market development approach. Market development approach is very easy to understand. Decide the cost, go with the market trends, market rates. Tell your students, tell your startups to pay as per the market rates. But traditional development approach says don't charge. Establish an NGO. Establish an exclusive organization for purpose of incubation of your students. Establish a separate company, trust or society. You may have your own running society, but establish the new society exclusively for business incubation purpose. And get some support for this society. Don't charge anything from your students. Help them, give them support. Once they become self-sustaining, thereafter they will be paying. So you have to establish a mechanism whereby you can get the payment. When students come for incubation, you may ask them to sign an agreement, in which agreement students will commit that once my business become profitable, I'll contribute 5% or 2% of my profits, or 2% or 1% of my revenues to the incubation center. This kind of clause. And this will help you in making your incubation center self-sustaining, isn't it? So this will help you. I will share with you the memorandum, the kind of agreements that you have to form in my next classes somewhere, so that you are able to make it clear. Basically, your incubation center, your entrepreneurship cell has to provide BDS, business development support system, to your students. And what kind of basic services you have to provide them? These services, you may provide in your incubation center, make it self-sustaining. These are some of the points, but you have to decide whether you'll follow TD approach or MD approach. TD approach is traditional development approach, MD approach is market driven approach. So you have to decide about them. You have to decide about what kind of intervention, what kind of support system, what kind of mechanism you will develop. Like, would you like to provide mentoring every quarter, or would you like to provide mentoring every month? What kind of support you will provide? How will you provide? How will you select your students? Like, would you like the students to give their presentation? Based on that, you will select. Or would you like the students to have one-to-one meeting, and you will jot down all the points? What are the points on which you can contribute? So you will write down all these things and prepare your strategy, right? So your strategy, I tell you, if you will have a very clearly laid down strategy, you will definitely create a wonderful support system for your students. And your conversion rate will be very high, success rate will also be very high. If your conversion rate is very high and if your success rate is also very high, what will happen? You will be able to create large number of startups which are viable, profitable, self-sustaining, and you will be contributing to the development of your country. You will be able to create a really admirable ecosystem, because through your contribution, large number of students will actually become successful entrepreneurs, and ultimately they'll become billionaires. They'll be able to make a big name, and they'll be able to create a lot of impact on economy and overall development. That is sure to happen. So business development services that you have to provide, these include, you have to help the students in understanding market, understanding niche market. You have to provide basic services, consultancies, interventions, mentoring support. You have to guide all these things, and ultimately you have to prepare exit strategy. What is exit strategy? Exit strategy is how you withdraw your support, how investors can withdraw their money, how funding agencies can withdraw their money, not in an abrupt manner, but in proper planned manner, so that the startup continues, it becomes self-viable, and it doesn't face any difficulty. That is called exit strategy. Yes, you have to craft beautiful, really working exit strategy, which will help the business entrepreneurs in becoming truly viable enterprises. So prepare excellent exit strategies. Each one of you should become an outstanding person in preparing outstanding exit strategies, right? They will help you and they will help your students, right? Yes. Let me share with you many students, many participants are leaving. I've just shared, uh, I have shared a link with all of you. Uh, I'll request all the participants to fill up this form, and I'll treat this as the class as the attendance for today. So I request all of you, please fill up the form which I have shared with you, and this will be treated as class attendance for today. Please fill it up. Thank you. I request every participant to please fill up this form which I have shared. This will be treated as a class attendance for today. So fill up this form and comfortably you can fill, no need to hurry. So what are the prerequisites? The prerequisites are, you as faculty team have to decide what should be the approach. Clear, prepare your guideline for your incubation center, for your entrepreneurship cell, which approach you are going to follow. Would you like to follow TD approach, traditional development approach, or market driven approach? Create business support center, create infrastructure for that, basic infrastructure that you can create maybe in just 1000 square feet of space. Basic infrastructure would include a conference room, meeting room, uh, small cubicles for offices, uh, a small business interact business exhibition room. These things are initial and required support system are like photocopying facility, computer center, secretarial services, meeting services. These things require, I mean, internet, and these are basic things. So these, then uh, uh, then the office space for mentors, various you have to prepare a list of mentors to provide legal guidance, to provide technical guidance, to provide guidance about marketing, to give guidance about finance, right? So these mentors, they will help you. Then you have to, i mean uh, within your mentors, you should have some legal experts, some economic experts, some marketing experts, some finance experts, some technical experts, some IPR experts. They will help you in offering the required business development support system. And then you have to provide human capital support. You have to provide uh, guidance about how to make the business sustainable, and you have to help your students in making the business running. I come back to the story that I started with, law of averages. This story I am again requesting you to read and understand the fundamental of it. A professor told the students that he would give average marks to all the students. First test happened, some students scored very high, some low, and average marks were given. But in final test, what happened? No one worked hard, everyone got zero. This is the fundamental situation about socialism or communism because you don't have, you can understand this thing very well. But in entrepreneurship thrives when if you work hard, you are able to grow. If you don't work, you are not able to grow. This is simple law. Entrepreneurship is simply and applying the mind common sense. Every student who is able to apply common sense will become a successful entrepreneur, provided there is right ecosystem. And that right ecosystem will be created by people like you. Yes, if you are passionate to promote entrepreneurship, you have a very important role to play in spreading entrepreneurship. You have to create right ecosystem. How will you create right ecosystem? We have discussed all these points. I just recapitulate our discussion. You will have to create infrastructure. You have to create e-cell, entrepreneurship cell. You will have to create incubation center. You will have to create a support setup, business development support center. You have to create networking with legal experts, with marketing experts, provide mentoring services to your students in the field of marketing, finance, legal services, expert services. You have to create required changes in your curriculum. In your board of studies, you have to discuss these things. You have to pass a resolution, allow your students to work in startups and earn some credits. You have to give permission to your students to start their own startups, and you have to give them credits for starting the startups. And you have to give extra credits or some credits to your students if they are investing their time either in their own startups or in supporting other startups. You have to create students voluntary groups wherein the students have brainstormings and discussions, and students should become the drivers of entrepreneurship. You have to withdraw yourself, allow students to work as a team, allow students to form their teams, manage their teams, and allow students to create truly professional service centers. Allow these students. You have to slowly withdraw yourself. Ultimately, an ecosystem will be created, and this ecosystem will help you in creating a large number of entrepreneurs. But remember, train your students in fundamental terms. What they must understand: importance of liquidity. They must understand importance of running the business very carefully. They must understand risk management. They must do the business very carefully under your guidance, under your help, under your support. Ultimately, ecosystem will work. I now invite you to share one point on today's discussion which you like the most. Please type one point of today's discussion which you like the most. Any one of you. Yes? Any one of you? Yes. Uh, yes, Judith has raised the hand. Welcome. Thank you, Professor Kadian. You have written institutional environment. Thank you very much. Wonderful point. This is really very point. This is what I expected from a dean like you. Yes, because I knew because you are participating, I knew this is the point that is going to come. Thank you, Okumu. You have written buy on credit, sell on cash. Yes, and if you make the opposite of it, what will happen? The business will become bankrupt. Buy on cash, sell on credit. What will happen? business is sure to become bankrupt, even if it is earning profit. Kirui, thank you. Kirui Gideon, thank you very much. You have written a wonderful point. BDS, Business Development Support System. Your university, your education institution should provide business development support system. This is a very important point. Thank you very much. Gidit, you are raising your hands. Please share your points. Really very impressed by your participation. Wonderful participation. Judith, yes, you were saying something. Welcome.
Yes. Thank you so much, Prof. I
Thank you.
think I'm lucky to have participated in today's lesson,
Thank you.
and the item that has impressed me most
Hmm.
is the fact that learning institutions are supposed to link their graduates with the suppliers, so that
Yes.
the
Yes.
graduates, the entrepreneurial graduates, can access capital
Hmm.
through the institutional suppliers for
Yes.
their growth in entrepreneurship.
Yes. Yes.
I think
Wonderful.
that is very important,
Very good.
and
Very good.
I have,
Very
thank
good
you. That is
point.
very
You have
important.
explained very rightly. In fact, you have explained more than what I had explained. Thank you very much. You have
Thank
explained
you.
the point very well, that
Thank you, Prof.
institutional linkage with the suppliers of different inputs should be established, so that entrepreneurs are able to get finance at a very low rate. Entrepreneurs are able to get their inputs at a very low rate, and that's how they become competitive, and their survival becomes possible. Thank you, really
Exactly.
wonderfully
Thank you.
wonderful points. You
Thank
have
you.
explained them very nicely. Thank you.
Thank you,
Big
Prof.
claps for you.
Thank you.
Big
Thank you,
claps
Prof.
for all those people who have participated in this discussion. Thank you, Gideon. Thank you, Professor Okumo. Thank you, Professor Kadian. Thank you, all of you. Your inputs have been made the day. Thank you. It has really been a wonderful session for me. Thank you. I'm so happy to get people participating like you. Thank you. It's really my fortunate. I'm really fortunate to be with you. Thank you all. And please, before you leave, just fulfill, submit the form which I have shared with you. I again share so that I get your input, and this will be our attendance for today. We will again meet next Tuesday, same time. Thank you all. Joining link will be the same. I'll again share. Thank you all. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I thank
Thank
all the
you.
participants. We will
Thank
meet
you, Professor.
same day next week on Tuesday. Thank you. Thank you, all the participants. Thank you for your wonderful participation. Thank you, Professor Judith. Thank you, Professor Kadian. Thank you, Professor Gideon. Thank you, Professor Daniel. Thank you all. Thank you, everyone. And
Thank
special
you
thanks
too, Prof.
to
Thank
Dr.
you.
Fred
Thank you.
for giving this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you too, Prof.
Thank you. If there's any questions, welcome. If any question is there, you're welcome. And if any suggestion is there, that's also welcome.